You do not need the practice. You need to get paid. And this episode of the Building the Future podcast is here to help. We're going to provide you with information and resources to cover your assets, as together we are building the future. This is the Building the Future podcast. I am your host, the lumberjack, Brett Thorne. On this show, we explore topics including construction, building materials, real estate, remodeling, the housing market, industry news, new products and trends, technology, government, everything you need for building the future. Welcome back to the Building the Future podcast. And today we're going to talk about a topic that we've spoken about before, and we're surely going to speak about again. And that's a very important topic for business, and that is money. And most importantly, we're going to talk about collection, receivables, and credit. And with me today, I have a couple guests. I brought back the always entertaining credit overlord, Thea Dudley. And joining us is going to be Martin Roth from Level Set. Thea and Martin, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thea, you've been on here before. You're a repeat offender. And you've been on the hot seat. So if anybody wants to find out more about Thea and her company, Pocket Protectors LLC, you can go back and listen to episode 12. So right now, what I want to do is I want to pick on you for just a little bit, Martin. As you're new to the show, I want to get you up to speed with the listeners. So what can you tell us about your professional background?
Yeah, thanks, Brett. So I'm Martin Roth. I'm with Level Set, and I've been with Level Set for almost 8 years. 8 years later this month. So the better part of a decade, I've been working alongside the credit management side of construction. Our customer, Level Set, services contractors, subcontractors, and suppliers, building material suppliers. And what we do specifically is we help them manage the lien rights process. As everybody on this podcast knows, and probably those listening, lien, we like to joke at Level Set, lien is a 4-letter word in the construction industry, right? So usually when lien gets tossed around, the proverbial stuff has hit the fan and people are angry. But it turns out liens are a pretty integral part to just everyday getting paid. You see lien waivers exchanging hands, preliminary notices, NTOs. They have all these different names. It's complicated. Every state's different. Even within a state, it can be different based on the project type or who you're contracting with. And I can see your eyes glazing over already, Brett. That's what most contractors feel when they start thinking about lien rights. And
luckily, this is all recorded. It is not video, so nobody else can see that, Martin. You're not supposed to be giving up those things.
So the thing is, it's complicated. It's easy to get wrong. And what we did a long time. So our founder, Scott Wolf, he would call himself a recovering attorney, but he used to practice law. He was a construction attorney, and he still is, I guess. He carries his license, but doesn't practice law anymore. And he started Level Set. It used to be called Z-Lien. So a lot of people listening may remember Z-Lien. Certainly, if you've ever Googled anything about how to file a lien or anything related to construction payment, you've probably seen the content that we write. And so over the last decade, we've built an entire business around educating this construction market, the United States construction market, on how to navigate the complex payment process in construction because it's complicated. It's unlike any other industry. And this is what we love about Thea. And we've known Thea for years. And just recently we started to partner with Thea on some of the educational content that we produce. And I think we're going to get into some of that later. So I'll save that for later in the podcast. But one thing we love about Thea is that she's got all these crazy stories, and she knows intimately about how difficult it is to get paid in construction and how much of a skill set is required. And so for a big market in construction in the United States, especially over the last 10 years, which has really just gone up and to the right, You have so many people that are either new to construction or their business is growing for the first time, or the business, especially in the LBM space, is changing hands from generation to generation, or they've been acquired because there's been a lot of acquisitions. There's just so much movement in the space. And at the end of the day, lien rights are super important. Getting paid is super important. Cash flow is super important. And what we've done is we've built a software product that helps navigate a pretty complex process. And in the process of bringing that product to market, we do a ton on the education side, because we believe everybody deserves, at the very least, deserves the right to understand what their rights are, and how to go protect their lien rights and get paid on time and in full. And to the extent that they need help, that's where we come in with the services that we offer. Now, we do lien rights management, and we do construction job research to verify ownership and who the general contractor is and other things like that. We also have contractor payment profiles that show you the payment history of a specific general contractor or owner, and what kind of payment terms they give, what kind of retention they have. That's all on the website. You see, we have a legal center where you can go ask a question of our community of expert construction lawyers and other payment experts. And so there are a number of ways that you can get value from LevelSet without actually being a paying customer. And then, of course, if you need to file a lien online, we try to help people avoid having to file liens, but we also do file liens online. So there's a little bit of a cocktail of value that you can get from LevelSet. And so, that's who we are and what we do. And what's my role there? I run the revenue side or the sales side. So we're responsible for obviously partnering with strong industry overlords like Thea, but also responsible for getting new customers and supporting those customers to help them be successful.
So, Mark, do you guys do both a lot of proactive steps and then also reactive when it comes to collections and things like that? Or do you focus more in one category?
Yeah. So I think it's an important distinction. We're not a collections agency. We're not a collections firm. We don't do any collections. All that we do is facilitate our customers to leverage the mechanics lien process, but also there are features within our platform that people can use for sending invoice reminders or sending demand letters, or in aiding in some of the both proactive and reactive elements of collecting on payment. So it's not just about collections. I'll give you a perfect example, Brett. In most cases, like in Kansas, in Missouri. I was thinking Kansas City because we were talking about it. In Missouri,
it's right on the border. We're close.
Yeah, in Missouri, it may not be required to send a preliminary notice on a construction project. But with that said, on almost every project, you're going to see with a payment application, a subcontractor is going to want to provide a conditional lien waiver. And then when they receive the check for payment, they're going to deliver an unconditional lien waiver. That's pretty common in just about every state in the country. And that's part of the process because there's lien rights attached to it. And getting it right, getting the language right, making sure that you have it delivered in the statutorily correct way, that's an important element that, believe it or not, a lot of contractors and suppliers are not very knowledgeable about what they should and can do. How am I doing, Thea? Am I getting it right?
You know what? You're doing, if I were hiring credit people, I would try to snap you up.
Ironically, I've never been a credit manager. I just work alongside them all the time, so I hear their challenges.
Yeah, but what's really cool though is, you asked about, proactive versus reactive. And one of the things as a credit person that I really try to push, that whether we have to serve a statutory notice or not, like a prelim on whether it's required by the state or not, I always try to encourage, hey, let's do that, because it acts as a flag out there to let everybody up that food chain know that we're on the job. And a lot of times that gets you paid. And, the pushback is, well, it's going to cost us money. It's like, okay, well, first of all, it's not a significant amount of money. It's very tiny to ensure that you're going to get paid. And then you're not having to worry about some of those timelines of getting that preliminary notice done. And then if you do have to be, hey, we have to take more of a reactionary, I need to file this lien to force you to pay me. you've already kind of feathered that nest a little bit. And so I'm a big advocate for more is better, and trying to get companies and people to put a proactive lien process and program in place is really frustrating, because it still carries such a negative connotation to it. And you would think we'd be past that, especially after the Great Recession. You think that people would have went, this is a normal course of business. But you still get the pushback of, I don't want to offend anybody, or, well, let's just wait and see if he pays us, or, they're going to think I can't pay my bills. It's like, I can pay my bills and I will drop a pre-lien on you in a heartbeat.
Right. It's interesting and it's ironic. I'm glad you brought that up, Thea, because look, we say often this is a scientific stat. 100% of people walk onto a construction job, from the owner to the supplier. 100% of people do not want to file a lien on the job. Nobody wants a lien. That is a bad thing. It messes up the title of the property. It's a pain in the neck for the supplier. It's definitely a pain in the neck for the sub who is late on their payment. It just causes problems. And there's a lot of benefits to liens if you're in that situation. But everybody on the job starts the job wanting to have repeat business, good relationships with their vendors, good relationships with their customers. Nobody wants a lien. And what Thea's talking about is the proactive measure. We call it raising your hand on the project. But basically, the owner, if you're a supplier, if you're a lumber building material supplier, and the framing contractor buys materials from you, and the framing contractor is 3 steps removed from the developer who's building the building, that owner has no idea that your building materials company is supplying the material. But I guarantee you that owner wants to make sure that you get paid for those materials, because they don't want to lien on the project. The problem in construction is that building things is hard. It's hard, and disputes come about. And disputes or rain delays or any number of things come up on the project that cause payment delay, and lack of communication usually leads to non-payment. And Thea, in however many years you've been doing credit, it's a long time. In almost every single instance, when you have it's not because somebody's a deadbeat and because they're trying to skip town. That happens, and Thea's got some great stories about those.
One or two.
But for all of the other situations where you're not getting paid, it's not because the person can't pay. It's a communication issue, or it's like, look, we're all human. You can help a partner out if it's your vendor or your customer. People work together all the time. And that's when we look at the preliminary notice process. It's like, look, if you're hiring subcontractors, you trust that they're going to do the work, but you're still going to make sure that they're bonded. Mm-hmm. And you're still going to have insurance. You have to protect yourself.
Yeah. It's part of it because a lot of times the communication process is lineal instead of network, to where maybe not everybody, like you said, there's multiple people in these projects. There's GCs, there's subs, there's owners, there's suppliers, and not everybody is networked together. Sometimes it's just a lineal communication line. Is that where some of the gaps fall, or some of the pitfalls are that cause these delays in the payment process?
Usually what happens, and Martin, I don't know what your experience has been, but when I'm looking at some of these projects and I'm calling someone going, okay, why are you behind? We're coming up on lien rights. What's the problem? Well, the money got tied up here, or so-and-so is not paying, or, COVID. I'm like, listen, if you're still trying to use COVID, we're done here. You're getting liened, but you're coming back, and there's always some excuse. And what typically happens on some of the smaller projects with some of the guys, that they might have robbed Peter to pay Paul, where, they use that money somewhere else, and now they're like, or it's like, Thea, I'm getting another job and I'll be able to pay you. I'm like, okay, so you're going to take that deposit. I'm going to pretend I don't know you're doing this, but I know you're going to take that deposit and pay me for this job. So we're just kicking the can down the road is what you're doing. And it's like, and that's not uncommon in our industry. It's frustrating. But the same thing goes back on some of the larger projects. Once somebody gets jammed up and anybody holds up that money, at some point, you're going to get involved in that, and it's that trickle down effect is going to hit you too. So like Martin was saying, the owner might have no idea that me as Dudley Supply House has shipped out materials to this job, But I guarantee you he will know when I'm not getting paid. And I make that phone call to say, look, I'm about to lien your project because I'm giving you one last out. I never want anyone to be surprised by a lien. So I'll call them and say, look, this is what I'm going to do. It's never met with, gosh, Thea, thanks for calling me. You're such a lovely lady. It's like, no, it's usually a little bit different conversation. And I'll tell our customer, and then it's like, look, I've reserved our lien rights. So I'm going to go ahead and call the owner. Let's find out if that's where the money is jammed up, then let me go to the money source. And I can tell like within 0.05 seconds if they're lying or not. Because if I say I'm going to call the owner and they go, oh, okay, I know that you just served me up a big steaming pile of, and we're going to have a different conversation because that owner is not going to be happy. But nobody's surprised. I want to give them that phone call. So when they get it, or the comment comes back where I say, hey, I'm going to, you're not leaving me a choice. I can't lose my lien rights. I'm going to have to lien this project. You get some, well, go ahead and do what you got to do, girl. If that's what you think you need to do. It's like, so then you do it. And they call up and they're so surprised that you did it. It's like, but you told me to. You knew I was doing it. And now you're mad. So, it's kind of, it's a couple of, it comes at you a couple of ways. It's that trickle down effect, but once the money starts going sideways, it's like a domino and it just keeps going. And then some contractors are just poor cash flow managers.
Totally. I think that's what we see more than anything. There's two leading causes, and I want to take the bad actors and put them on the side because while that exists, I think it's the extreme minority. I also like to believe in humanity and believe that in the good in most people.
I love your optimism. See, you're not jaded like. Yeah, he can be a liar.
So the two things
Martin has not been in credit management, obviously.
Oh man, I love the optimism.
There are two. Well, I love contractors, and I believe they do do good work and hard work. So here's what we see. There's two things. There's the age-old golden rule: he who has the gold makes the rules. On a construction project, the owner or the developer are usually calling the shots on how money flows down the chain on the project. A lot of general contractors or GCs have pay if paid or pay when paid clauses in their contracts with subs. And so you'll see, on occasion, some credit managers will issue or request joint checks. Like there's ways around some of that stuff, but it's I think Thea hit it on the head, which is that many subcontractors, not all, but many subcontractors are very poor cash flow managers, and they don't have a strong enough balance sheet to float the project, and so they end up borrowing funds from other projects. Not trying to get into anybody's business for how they manage their cash flow.
Okay, that's my job, Martin, is to get into somebody's business and tell them what to do.
Because on the LBM side, the building materials company is the bank. They're the one giving them. They're floating them because they're giving them the line of credit in a lot of cases. And you see subcontractors that just can't get materials financing. I mean, we launched Level Set Capital halfway through last year to solve this problem for contractors and subcontractors. So we've started to do things like provide materials financing to help people when they do have a claim like a lien or a bond claim to help finance that claim. And so we're providing services to help facilitate the flow of cash because we recognize that subcontractors as a group generally don't have ready access to capital. And so there's a lot of opportunity here to make life better for subcontractors and subsequently to make life better for the building material suppliers, with the end goal being that fewer liens, people are getting what they earn, and the projects go on and get completed on time and under budget.
So Brett, that's where I got really excited about working with Level Set because, having the supplier background and being, having been with dealers and suppliers and manufacturers for years, you work with a lot of contractors and you're educating them like one at a time where they'll let you. The challenge is, our industry is full of a lot of ego, a lot of testosterone out there, a lot of ego. And they don't always take that help in the spirit it's intended. They might take it a little personal where you're like, I'm not saying you're a bad person and I'm not saying you're not smart. I'm saying that I cannot go up and roof a house. If you're looking for me to do anything in your house, hang a door, drywall, insulate, whatever, you are going to be living in one of the Three Little Pigs houses that falls down, and
Now, wait a minute, Thea.
so,
You grew up working for your father that was a contractor. You and I have gone through this. You've told me about your skill set
yeah,
that you
I
acquired.
told you about my skill set.
You would sit there and read.
I used to cut cords just to get the hell out of there. So I didn't want to be on a 16-year-old girl wants to be on a job site. What is wrong with you? So I want to be at the mall. So, but I can help you. I can teach you how to cash flow and collect and protect that money. And that's where I got so excited about Level Set because, something that I'm very passionate about, because as a supplier, if I can teach my customers how to get paid and how to protect themselves, hopefully that binds them to me, makes them a little more loyal to me. And then I get paid faster because they don't have an issue. So when we're looking at that, it's, hey, some of these guys used to work for maybe a larger contracting firm, or they went out on their own, or maybe they've been super lucky and they've managed to get this far, but they've never looked at growing that back office the way that they do. Hey, we got more sales, we got these jobs. But when it came to the back office piece, that's where it's, hey, if you're not getting your invoices out there and correct, and you're not getting them timely, and you're not protecting yourself, and you're not following up on collecting money, that's going to cause you some heartache. And a lot of times these, contractors don't have a full credit department the way that a dealer would, or they don't have a dedicated person to it, and they look out there. So Barton was kind enough to let me play credit manager to the masses by saying, hey, go out there, we'll put your profile out, you can answer some questions. And so I did that, and some of the questions came up, and this is going to sound terrible, but I'm reading and I'm thinking, well, let me tell you how you do this. I can't believe this. This is so easy. And it's easy for someone doing it 30 plus years, and it seems so cut and dry, but it would be like me saying, hey, what do you think about this roof? And he's like, Jesus, you need to replace it. Are you blind? It's what your comfort zone is. And so that got me super, super excited about working with the folks at Level Set, because they're passionate about the same thing I am.
Yeah.
And you guys are working together on some projects. One of the projects is the Credit Management Academy. What can you tell us about that?
You want me to go first?
I'm like, go ahead, Martin. I just spent a whole bunch of time talking. It's your turn.
So for those that are listening, you can go to levelset.com/CMA, and the first thing you're going to see is a video with Thea. She came and visited us in New Orleans. We spent a day together, and we recorded a number of sessions. So if you look at it, there's 4 pieces to it. There's credit basics, there's lien rights, there's collections, and then there's building a team. And so 4 specific elements around credit management specifically for contractors and building material suppliers. And so the reason we wanted to work with Thea on this, Thea, she's self-proclaimed credit overlord. She's super knowledgeable, ton of experience, very well connected. But more importantly, like you put her personality out there, she is a magnet for attention, and she definitely grabs the viewer and delivers the message. We can publish content all day long. We can put words out all day long, but until we really partner with the credit management community and take one of our own, Thea, and pull that together, that's how you get the message to land. So what the platform is and what the course is, it's free education for people who, what we like to call, Thea, I know you love this, the accidental credit manager. So it's the person who's the office manager or AR manager for a company that's an upstart, or maybe they just don't have a big presence, and they find themselves having to do credit management tasks, or they have credit management objectives on their plate, and they're lost and alone because they've never done it before, and it's not their core competency. We are a place where they can go and they can get help, and Thea's course is a great way to get some of the basics there. We also are a place, one thing that we recognize is that, especially because of COVID, but just with the times and technology, the appetite for professional credit managers is changing for where they want to communicate with their peers, where they want to get access to information and education. This may be unpopular. I don't know who listens to this podcast, but the NACM is the National Association of Credit Management, which many who are in credit management in construction are active members. We believe that there is a gap that the NACM is leaving, and just any of the other organizations that are in credit management. There's a gap that needs to be filled. There's a new generation of credit managers. They have a different appetite for what they want to consume and how they want to interact with the market. And we see a big opportunity to take all stars like Thea, produce amazing content that's educational, and give these accidental credit managers and professional credit managers a home where they can communicate, congregate, learn, get educated, and ultimately be better at their jobs, get promoted, all of the stuff that you would want in a career, and then ultimately get paid faster and be able to take on more construction projects for the business.
And Thea, your take on it? You've been very quiet. I'm proud of you.
Hey, Martin was doing such a good job. I thought I have nothing to add to that. That's really good. I have to agree with Martin on that. When you look at, like, when I started in credit, the only game in town was the Credit Management Association, was NACM, and they do a great job. But once you go through that one course, and they, where I think that maybe the ship kind of, hasn't quite caught up with what's going on, is you've got this gap, that learning gap, where the traditional way that somebody like I learned things is not how, people, 20, 30 years younger than me learn. They go out to YouTube and look up everything. They want to connect in a platform. They want to have that instant answer. So it's like, I have to go through they're very much more, I need it now. They're in a much more now learning environment. When I started in this industry, the internet did not exist. That makes me sound super old, which, wow, the internet did not exist. That's very humbling. Can we edit that out? I'm not happy about that.
Leave that one alone.
But it's true, and so then I started looking at, well, how do I learn? How do I go? Well, because I have the benefit of having been in an industry for 30 years, there's almost nobody in the industry I don't know. If I don't know them personally, I know somebody who knows them, and I can reach out and get the information. And once you send out that credit manager smoke signal, we're a good community. We'll answer you. We'll help you. We want you to be successful. I'll even help my competitors. I don't want them to lose money. It's like, I may not play on the same team as you, but I'm not gonna watch you fail if I can help it. But and I know that might not be popular, but I just am not gonna leave a credit manager behind. So when I look at how people learn and how they go about that and how they connect, and even just getting access to people who have been there, done that, where if I can save you, where, I had a credit manager call and say, I've never gone to small claims court, Thea. And my boss heard you speak and said, small claims court was awesome, and now he wants me to go. What do I do? I'm like, okay, well, honey, I'll walk you through it. Let's talk about what that looks like. It's only scary because you haven't done it. And I think that's anything. Once you have some context and you're able to reach out to someone who can walk you through it and go, yeah, it's not that big a deal. Here's how you do a deposition. Here's this, here's that. Not everybody has a mentor or a coach or somebody in their company that they can go to and say, fill me in on this. So what I love is Martin and Level Set have allowed me to get a bigger platform to connect with some of those credit people, and that, that accidental credit manager where they're going, I'm making calls, but I'm like, well, when you say you're making collection calls, tell me what that looks like. Hi, you owe us money. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good. Okay. All right. Thanks. It's like, you learned nothing. You're not begging. It's your money, and it's okay to ask for what's due to you. So, those are the kind of conversations that, we're having. And I know we might be jumping ahead, and I don't know if you were even going to bring this up, but I'm super excited about this advisory board that Level Set put together. And that's really cool because they pull together, well, Craig Webb is on it. And we did pull in John Flora, who sits on an NACM, and some other industry industry credit managers that are working credit managers in our industry, that we got to come together and help tell Level Set, here's what the community is saying. And here's, when we talk about community, our industry and credit people in our industry. And that's been really exciting.
Yeah, it's about creating space and a venue to bring industry leaders together and just participate in a conversation, not about Level Set, but about the industry and about what's needed and where the industry is heading. We're super excited about that. That's a new thing for us, and we just had the first meeting. It was like last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, and that's we're looking forward to expanding that credit advisory board and really facilitating some good conversation, which is not hard to do when you've got Thea in the room.
Hey, that's a really lively group. And the cool thing is, the way I describe it is Level Set like basically gave us the room. It's like they gave us the venue to pull people together. And so it's a virtual room. And what's really cool is you do have that platform where you can be pushing conversation back and forth, and you don't always have to all be engaged at the same time. And that's what I like about those construction payment boards and the Q&A part out there. And those things they're sorely needed, and they haven't been out there. And I think that's a great place for people to go for resources, where if they're not everyone is a joiner, not everybody wants to be, go to a meeting and sit there and, get to know everybody. Some people are like, I'm already so underwater at work. I can't peel off 3 hours to drive to a meeting, but I can do this. So I think giving people lots of options to be able to get the information is cool.
So you guys are really just taking and adding new resources with Credit Management Academy and with your credit advisory board to help those that are in the industry, either by accident or on purpose, to better their businesses and better their receivables. I've also heard that, Thea, in your spare time, you are writing a book. Now, when I first heard this rumor, I got really excited, but at the same time, I was really confused, because with all of your stories, I couldn't decide if this was going to be a comedy or if this was going to be a horror novel, or what exactly we were going to be faced with here. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that, Thea?
Well, I would love to say it's more like Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, but it is so not. So this book has been about 10 years in the making. I started it, and then you put it aside and you write it some more, and then something happens. And so when in conversation, I was talking to the folks over at Level Set, and we were talking about trying to put together when I could come down and do the classes. And I said, well, I've got to wait to do this. I've got to finish editing my book. And then we went from there, and they're like, well, we've never published a book. I'm like, well, me either. I've never edited a book, and it's trust me, my grammar skills are so not fantastic. And so we got together, and it's been a win-win for both of us. I look at the book and I read it so many times because I've lived it, and I understand credit management to where I think other people should. And there, a couple of the folks over there read it, and they're like, what does this mean? I'm like, oh, okay. And then it's like, oh, I can see where you would say that. So it's a little bit of both. There's a little bit of here's some epic failures that, it's hard to want to share your scars with people, that where you don't come out in the story looking awesome. And, here's what I did that was successful. Here's what wasn't. Here's some stories that kind of bring what we're talking about in credit and collection alive, to where it's like it's not just a very dry read. It's very here's what life in the credit world in our industry looks like, and you get all kinds of characters. And here's how to save yourself from stepping in the big piles of steaming that I did. Do more better.
Yeah, what did we call it? The Credit Overlord's Guide to Credit and Collections. But I like the sub. It's how to deal with cranky customers, bad bosses, and snarky sales reps as a credit professional in construction.
Yeah.
Which definitely, if you read through the stories, man, some of them they're good. Some of them are crazy.
Her stories are unbelievable.
Well, I'd like to say I'm unique, but if you sit down, literally, I get get emails from credit managers going, get out of my head. I could be living your life. I'm like, honey, we all live the same life. It's credit management. You get a group of credit people together and it turns into I can top that kind of a thing. And pretty soon you're like, wow, that's okay. You win. You win the award of the week. You got me beat. It's crazy that we all have those experiences, but genuinely at the heart of it, most credit people do want to help their company grow. They hate being known as the sales prevention department. They don't like saying no to customers. They want to keep material going. They want to keep job sites going. And sometimes our role in the company is sometimes we have to be like the mom. It's like, look, you can't have ice cream if you don't eat your broccoli. This is how it works.
And one quick note on the book where it's through the final stages of editing, and I know that it's going to be available on Amazon. We're looking at the end of the month, so it's like very, very close. So when we do have it available, Brett, we'll make sure that you and your followers are aware and know where to get it, and then we'll I'm sure we're going to have a bunch printed out that we'll be sending out to all kinds of people all over the industry. So we're super excited. I can't wait to get that book into the hands of the industry because I think people are gonna eat it up because it's good. It's page turner.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. You guys have been so kind of working with me on it because there's credit books out there and I have some on my shelf and they're very good and they're very thorough. And sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, this is the driest read ever. You've got to put a little flair on it. Credit, nobody goes, oh my gosh, I can't wait to be a credit manager. So you're trying to find a way to go, look, this really is the coolest spot in the company. This really is a fun job. I just got to get you to see the fun sides of it.
So your guys' partnership together really is bringing a lot to our industry and building the future for industry. What else do listeners need to know about what you guys are doing together or what Level Set is doing?
Well, I'm not going to miss an opportunity to plug our product and platform. Obviously, we work with contractors and suppliers all over the country, and we'd love to help you get what you earn by helping you navigate the payment process. We've got some really exciting stuff that we've just released on the contractor payment profile side. We obviously are very excited. This month was all about getting the Credit Manager Academy live, getting Thea's book out and into the universe. And so those are the most timely things to be talking about. But certainly, to the extent that anyone is interested in learning more, go to Level Set. We got a lot of free stuff and free education. And to the extent that you are curious about improving your lien rights management process, we can help with that too. But that's the extent of my pitch. I'm not going to consume any more airways with that.
Well, here's what I really like and what I think is really cool. And what I encourage a lot of the dealers that I work with to do is that if nothing else, if by having that resource of Level Set, you can also help your customers because let's face it, we've talked about this before. You can buy a lot of the products that most of the dealers carry from anybody. What sets you apart is going to be, and everyone says, oh, it's our service. It's like, well, yes and no. What are you offering me above and beyond the other guy? So if I'm directing you to resources and I'm making it easy for you to get to those resources and I'm walking you through it. And even if I spend 5 minutes going, hey, this is a good idea for you. You need to check this out because I think this is going to help you quite a bit. That's how I see, you can help as a dealer, help your customers by connecting them. And then yourself, if you're partnering with that and putting that positive lien service in place, and I'm surprised at how many dealers across the country still don't have a lien program. And that to me is unfortunate and kind of scary where I look at them and go, seriously? Well, Thea, we've only had to lien something once in the last 10 years. It's like, okay, how much money have you written off? Don't give me that I've never written any money off because you have not accepted defeat. That's been on your aging since 2017. You just haven't accepted that this is happening. So, what happened that it's still sitting here? It would not be there, had you preserved those rights. So you have to start breaking it down for people and that it's not a slam. And a lot of it is getting someone to try something new. And as you have these folks that have been running the company for a long time and they get in that that negative lien mindset. It's really not negative. It's like, look, I'm protecting you too, because if I didn't, if this something goes wrong, I have somebody else to sue. Otherwise, and to go after that money on, I can put this lien on there. If I don't, I just have you, and I like you, and I'll like you when I'm suing you and we're in court. I'm still going to like you, but I'm going to sue you. I have a job to perform. I need to get paid. We did our share. We supplied the products or services. You've got to do yours.
Yes, words of wisdom. We don't need the practice. We need to get paid.
Yep.
And with that, I want to be respectful of both of your times. Martin and Thea, I want to thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Brad.
This is the Building the Future podcast. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe. Please like and share. You can find out more at our website, www.buildingthefuturepodcast.com. Together we are building the future.